Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Hey, welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. My co-host is Ryan Holmes. He was I was gonna say the pleasure, but not the pleasure of the way the game ended. But he had the opportunity to watch the Raiders and Cardinals play last on Sunday. Probably up there with the Calvin Johnson, Rolando McClain game, probably with Elvis Gerback, Napoleon Kaufman not running out of bounds. That's probably one of the worst defeats that the Raiders have had in a long time, and we're gonna see that that Roadrunner play with Kyler Murray in NFL films forever.
He ran 85 yards from the 2-yard line and scored it. No one could tackle him. It was tough to witness in person. I think I jinxed it. I text you at halftime. I'm like, they're whipping them up pretty good. And you're like, nope, this one's not over. And you were right. I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was wrong. I don't want to be right in these situations. Yeah. That's not the goal. That's not my goal at all in that situation. But it was tough.
Counting my money too. I had a 5-team teaser. They were the last one I needed. The other 4 had won. USC Fresno State. I lost the teaser the day before. I was looking. I thought I had it in the bag up 20-0. I was counting my money.
That's crazy. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan Holmes, our co-host, is RHOLM22. So I'm not sure where to start, but I'm gonna have, since you were there, since you were there, like I'm sure, and you also had the privilege of being on the field as well. What was your thoughts? I mean, you texted me how huge Darren Waller was, which is hilarious. Which I thought was hilarious. But what were your thoughts about like that experience being on the field at Allegiant, and then the game itself?
No, it was good. I got to go on the field and hold the flag during the national anthem. It was the full size of the field. Thank you for the Twitter followers who told me to be a puller, not a holder. I was lucky enough, I was on the 43-yard line of the home side, so I was standing right on the sideline. The whole national anthem, I was just turning around looking at the players, and Darren Waller is a large man. He walked right by me. I was standing right in front of Derek Carr and Devontae Adams, but just to be up close and see the physical size of some of these guys is crazy, how big they are. And then obviously getting the flag off the field is a very quick, because I'm like, how are we going to get this thing off the field in 5 minutes? It's the size of the field. So we're running off. There's grass kicking up. I'm eating grass as I'm running off the field and then trying to get to my seat. I got to my seat like the 3rd play of the game. But it was a tremendous experience. One I'll never forget, being on the field right before kickoff, standing next to all the NFL players.
That's a cool story, and probably cool. But definitely for us as lifetime Raider fans, I'm sure that was like a cool moment, and you'll probably always remember. Hang on one second. Okay, I gotta take that one. But back to the Raiders game here now. It is one of the worst losses we've ever seen in our lives, especially with everything that they did in the offseason to kind of we thought improve this football team. And I think just seeing the body language of Devontae Adams off that near pick, it's crazy. It's kind of crazy. But what were your thoughts there? I kind of give my thoughts after years watching it on television. What were your thoughts as far as what went right, what went wrong, as far as the Raiders go?
Yeah, it's interesting, being at the game and being able to see everything develop on the field. I thought they played a really good first half. I thought the offensive line looked good on the opening drive and opened up some holes for Jacobs. I'm in the process of rewatching the game now on TV. I'm about halfway through the 3rd quarter, but it was clearly a different game plan offensively. It was getting the ball out of Derek's hands quickly. He was on target a little bit better in the first half. It looked like Cardinals are playing a lot more zone after blitzing Mahomes a lot last week. The Raiders took advantage of that. Getting down in the red zone, again, continues to be a problem. Getting down there. They kicked 2 field. It was 17-0. They kicked a field goal to go up 20-0. My brother who was with me was like, they need 7. And I'm like, oh, we're good, 20-3. And then again, it happened again and made it 23-0 to keep it within range, within a 3-score game with some extra points. Had either one of those been a touchdown, the game might have been out of reach. I thought the defense early on played really well. And in the second half, there was adjustments by the Cardinals. Clearly, they went to the short passing game, a lot of screens, get the ball out of Kyler Murray's hands, and the offense's inability to stay on the field in the second half and generate anything. I think if you just take away the deep pass interference against Matt Collins, where that led to the field goal to make it 23-0, the offense did nothing. And a lot of it was just 3 and outs. I think the turning point of the game was the play calling when it was 23-7. The defense gets a 4th down stop. I think at like the 10-yard line, and the Raiders take over and they run 3 plays with 12 minutes left and run like 20 seconds off the clock. 3 straight incomplete passes. And I'm sitting there like, run the ball 3 times, take 3 minutes. When you cannot recover onside kicks, it's very hard to do it. If you have a 2-score lead with 4 to 5 minutes left, the game's over. If the other team's going to have to recover an onside kick, the Raiders never really put the Cardinals in that position that they should have. And then obviously in overtime, the whole crowd, as soon as after the first Renfro fumble, it's funny because being there live, I'll have to relook at it. I'm almost positive Derek Carr changed the play. The play before the fumble, because they came out, it looks like they were going to run. And then he sees something defensively, backs up into the shotgun, and they throw a quick pass that I think was either incomplete or really short. If they just run the ball 3 times, you have Daniel Carlson doesn't miss kicks in that stadium. I think he's like 42 of 42. It's something absurd. And they were within field. It was a long field goal, but at that point, if you run and get 5 yards, you can kick a field goal and walk out of there with a win. And then Hunter Renfrow fumbles, and the rest is history. But I thought the defense had a lot of opportunities to get off the field. The funny thing is, you're the one that brought it to my attention about the referee crew that threw a lot of flags. A lot of them were late. Being there in the stadium, the play was basically over before the flag came out on more than a couple of occasions. We couldn't see the replay on the 2-point conversion, whether AJ Green had it or not. It was tough to tell. I have no idea what the TV feed looked like. But you got to give credit to the Arizona Cardinals. They made the adjustments, and obviously scoring 2 touchdowns and getting 2 2-point conversions late in the game. The defense was gassed at that point. They 59 plays, I believe, in the second half and overtime. You can't. That's a whole game. They asked them to be on there. At some point, they need to get off the field. At some point, the offense needs to get a first down. But complimentary football, you thought the Raiders would be in a good spot here to do it, and they weren't. And then the adjustment was never made, I think, in the fourth quarter by the defense, because they were lining up in a 3-by-1, 3-by-2 sets, and no one was ever covering the inside receiver. And we're sitting in the stands saying, hey, if they just throw those quick hitch routes at Zach Ertz, he's wide open. The safety's 15 yards away from him. And they did that. They hit him like 3 or 4 times. And it's like, at some point, I thought they should have played man, come up, played some press on, made Kyle Murray throw the ball over the top of them. And they never really did that. They just let him dink and dunk it down the field, which is exactly what he wants to do.
It's funny because whenever I always play the scoreboard when I watch games. So as soon as it was 20-0 at the halftime, the first thing I did was I said 26 points wins this game. I wasn't even looking for a touchdown. I was like, if they get 6 points in the rest of this game, they'll end up winning it. And they weren't able to do that. I thought you and I great minds think alike. I thought the 3 and out after they get a 4th down stop I didn't have a problem with the play call of throwing on first down. I'm always a proponent of throwing the ball on first down. I just don't know how he can't have an accurate throw to Matt Collins, who is open. He's literally okay. So he's 5. I don't know what the route combination was, but he's 5. The next defender is 5 yards behind him. So if you throw the ball accurately to him, if he breaks a tackle, it's a first down. If the ball is accurately thrown to him, he's getting at least 8 yards on the play. And it's
over his head. Yeah.
It threw the ball over his head. Like, I mean, what am I working with as far as that goes? Like, that ball cannot be thrown over his head. And on a 3rd down play, if you're going to throw a screen pass, can you not throw it to JJ Watt's side? Can we throw it the other side? I mean, whatever. I mean, like at that point, I have no problem with a first down pass play, because I feel like first down pass play is a little drive starter. You're backed up. It's a safe pass. They're giving you the completion. They're literally saying, no, go ahead, complete that ball. And you can't, execute that play. I mean, that is. I mean, I know that some of the play calling from McDaniels is a little bit, iffy in some of these spots. But in that moment, like if my quarterback can't make that pass play, then we have you got bigger issues as far as that goes. I'm with.
Can I add something on that series?
Yeah, go ahead.
So being in the stadium, the first down play when Carr was in the shotgun, and then you saw that Jacobs next to him and kind of Johnson offset in front of Jacobs. So I missed a couple of plays on the first drive. In the stands, I'm like, I've never seen this formation before. What are they trying to set up? And then they ran the play action, and they were trying to hit Adams on the slant, and the pressure came right up on Carr. So rewatching it today, they actually had that same formation on the first drive, and they ran a power off tackle where they pulled Cotton pulls, Johnson pulls, and Jacobs follows. But in that situation, the Cardinals had a guy that was lined up is a one technique. So he's off the right shoulder of Parham, and Parham struggled to block him. And he kind of got some penetration, but it was a handoff, and Jacobs got outside. On the first down play, after the turnover, the defensive tackle is a three technique. So Parham has to snap the ball. Cotton pulled, and he's got to get all the way across the formation to get the three technique. And he can't. And that's what blew up that play. The pressure came up. And a lot of times in the running game in the first half, I noticed they weren't blocking one of the defensive tackles. They were letting him go to the backfield. The center and the guard were getting to the second level. And the fullback was picking him up, and he was blocking the defensive tackle. So sitting there live, you're wondering, why are they getting all this pressure right up the middle? And it was kind of the blocking scheme of the day, just kind of re-looking at it. But I have I know that's a tough block for a rookie center to get out to a three technique when Parham struggled all day when guys were lined up outside of him, and then even the guy over him, they had a zero technique. I think it was in the fourth quarter. There was the 4-yard loss on Jacobs where the defensive tackle just ran Parham over and tackled him. But yeah, again, the screens disappeared in the second half. You saw the Cardinals adjust. They were showing pressure. They were having multiple guys up on the line of scrimmage. Carr was getting the ball out quick, just throwing quick balls into the flat, and the Cardinals rallied and tackled, and some of the passes were incomplete. But the other big takeaway from the game walking away is what happened to Darren Waller. He either got benched for most of this game or he was hurt. We don't know about, but he didn't play a lot in a lot of formations. Foster Moreau actually had more snaps than Darren Waller in this game. And I remember just looking at him standing on the sidelines in the fourth quarter with his hands behind his back, wondering, is this guy hurt or what's going on? He wasn't even anywhere near the offensive play caller. And then he got in late. He got in the overtime. So clearly, he wasn't injured. And then they had a lot of stuff designed for Foster Moreau, but how do you not get the ball to Devontae Adams? And I remember you texted me in the game, are they doubling him? And they really weren't. They had a guy kind of shaded, a safety shaded that way. But they weren't really double teaming him where it was obvious we have to go somewhere else right after the snap. If they're going to shade the guy over there, throw a slant, line him up in the slot, put him inside of a 3-by-1 formation. Like there's ways to get him the football, and they just didn't do it this week.
Yeah, and I think that to me is like just on a personal level, like his mama and papa there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they came, the first time they seen them play live, and you're not force feeding the ball. Those receivers get lathered up. Like you see it with the great ones. You see it with with Jerry Rice. When you see it with when Tim Brown used to do it for the Raiders. When whether it's Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens. When they get 2 or 3 balls in the first quarter, they're going to eat the rest of the game. And they usually end up with, 10 catches, 9 catches for almost 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So they couldn't do that. I also noticed in the first quarter, formationally, Renfro wasn't on the field, but I in the first quarter, basically. But I feel like that was more, I'm going to have Adams on the field, going to have Hollins on the field, and I'm going to run the football. And they ran the ball pretty effectively in that drive. So I give him credit for that. I want to say, I know that I've already been called a Patrick Graham stan, so I'll wear that on my chest every day. I wear that Patrick Graham stan thing on my chest really good. I will say this. So growing up in Connecticut, we used to always whenever we went down to New Haven, we would jokingly call the people who went to Yale Yaleys, right? So he went to Yale. Sometimes you're really smart, but you're not you don't have common, a little bit common sense smarts. You have it's a little different between street smarts and book smarts. He knows what he's doing defensively. I really have no doubt. The Raiders the Raiders' defensive stats. I mean, as far as like third down conversions, they get off the field. They actually got a turnover. They were in the plus for the most part of this game. As far as that goes, you want to talk about him blitzing a little bit more. I get it. Everybody knows on this show, I'm not a fan of the rush 2 or rush 3. I think there's never a time in football you should do that. But the Cardinals did not hit double digits point total in this game until 8 minutes and 13 seconds in the fourth quarter. Like, that's a lot of football. And I really feel like there are times when the quarterback, or how you want to put it, but like where he kind of plays like 2 quarters of football, and you kind of need him to play all 4. And like, and sometimes it's not like that tight throw in between 2 defenders. It's just that simple, set your feet. I'm going to hit a wide open wide receiver who they're giving the completion to, and then you can just move the clock away and let it dwindle down. Like, this was a game where a couple of first downs or a first down might have gotten him a victory. I mean, a first down in the second half might have gotten him a victory instead of losing this football game. And I'll go to the overtime. Harmon makes 2 back-to-back absolutely amazing plays. One on fourth down, or one on third down to stop a run, and then he hits Hollywood Brown and knocks the ball away. And at that point, you get the ball at midfield. I kind of changed a little bit, and I was like, oh, maybe the Raiders will win this game now. Hold my beer, Derek said.
Yeah, I think watching it live, it's tough because my seats basically are the all 22 angle. I can see the whole field in front of me, and you can just see the indecisiveness from Derek. And I'm not going to bash Derek. There was a million. This game falls on McDaniels, Graham, anybody that was on the field in that game had a hand in this game. But he's not anticipating throws in this offense. It's like he's waiting for guys to come open. There was a play where Darren Waller ran across the middle and he hit him on like a 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10. He was open, and we're like yelling from the stands, Waller's open, and he waited and waited. The ball that was the play before the Renfro fumble, where he just misses Adams. Adams is wide open in the middle of the field, and he's late, and he's standing flat-footed again with his lower half, and he kind of lobs it, and it almost got intercepted. Like, he's late with some of these passes, because I think everyone's still trying to learn this offense and think about all the different coverages and the route adjustments, and they're just not on the same page a lot. Which even more, the best guy in the field in that game was Josh Jacobs. He was making guys miss in the backfield. He was making guys miss all over the field. He didn't get a carry from the 6:54 mark of the fourth quarter through the end of that game and overtime. They didn't turn around one time and hand the ball. Now, I think one of them was a call to Jacobs. Derek audibled out of it when he saw the coverage. There was another one where he audibled out of it. If you remember, he threw an out route late in the game to Adams where he just completely missed him. It was short and wide. That was a run that he audibled from under center back out. So he can audible. For the fans out there, they're putting all this stuff on Twitter saying Derek can't audible because of Vic Tafer's article. He's audibling on the field. You can see him do it. And I watched him do it from the stands. And then on the Patrick Graham side, the game plan clearly was the mush rush. And McDaniels talked about it in his press conference today. Like, there's a lot of Chandler Jones hate on the timeline right now. Like, his whole job was to stay in front of or even with Murray and not let him get outside of the pocket.
Set the edge.
And if you watch Max Crosby, he was doing the exact same thing, but he's so long and so a freak athlete. He was just running right down the middle of the right tackle and shoving him over to get into the backfield. He wasn't running the corner. He wasn't dipping inside. He was basically just overpowering the guy in front of him. Cleveland Farrell came in, did the same thing. Tayshaun Bauer came in, did the same thing. Max slid down and played defensive tackle, and that's kind of when you saw some of his moves. But whoever the outside guys were, they weren't flaring up the field and opening up those running lanes. That's what they asked those guys to do, and it worked for 3.5 quarters. And then Kyler Murray, the freak athlete, just got loose a couple of times late, or just made some plays late. Obviously, there was some penalties that kept some drives alive, some questionable penalties. And then I was getting a bunch of people reaching out to me. This defense has to create turnovers. They have to give them field position. Well, they got an interception, and if you count the 2 turnovers on fourth down, and they got one last week, those are turnovers technically that don't show up in the turnover column. But they got 3. If you count the turnovers on down, and they got 3 yesterday.
I always count. They and I think turnover on down should count. I mean, it should count towards the defense as far as that goes. So they are getting off the field to the point where like they're one of the top teams as far as defensive conversions defensively. And when they needed to get off the field against the Chargers, they got off the field, right? And Nate Hobbs makes that play. When they need to make a play in this game, then they knocked the ball out of. I almost thought that that maybe he caught it and they were going to call him that said that he fumbled out of Hollywood Brown fumbled out of bounds. But great play by him. People are getting on Abrams because they thought he was going to pick that ball off and go 99 yards.
I did too.
But I mean, I'll Rod Woodson as far as that goes. But it's just, I mean, I don't like if Waller's not hurt, I don't understand.
I don't know what happened.
And my biggest thing about my biggest criticism of this team is, and I always talk about the middle eight. Winning the middle eight is huge in any football game, but like, what is happening? What is happening in the end of the first half of these two football games? Like I wish we could take those timeouts to halftime and they count toward the second half. You have 6 timeouts, but they don't. So why are they not trying to push the football and get at least in field goal range at the end of these in the end of the half in the Charger game or in the Cardinal game?
They did get a field goal before half, but to your point, I think they had the ball. I want to say it was like a minute 44, minute 50, something like that. And they barely got into field goal range. So they had plenty of time with timeouts. They needed to play to Renfro where he got out of bounds and set up a 55-yard field goal. They did run the ball to Josh Jacobs at some point in there. And basically with a minute left, I think they ran it down to 30 seconds to get 2 yards. I thought Parham got his ups and downs in this game as a center. I think that there was some weakness where guys got into the backfield on him pretty quickly. I thought Cotton had a horrible game. I think Alonor did not play well. I thought Mumford didn't play well. So last week it was the left side. This week it was the right side. And then the other issue was once Bilal Nichols got hurt, I didn't realize it there. I saw it after the game, but like the interior pressure once he got hurt was gone. You're literally looking at, I think Hankins was in there rushing, Billings and Vickers. They ended up moving Crosby inside at times with Farrell outside at times. A lot of people are asking, where's Malcolm Koonce? He didn't even play in this game. Chandler Jones can't play 82 snaps in a game at 32 years old. He can't. Like, he's got 142 snaps, but I think it was more the defenses they were trying to contain Murray and keep him in the pocket takes a lot of awareness and a lot of discipline. And I don't think they trusted those young guys to execute that game plan. That's why we didn't see Coots and we barely saw Bauer. You saw Farrell. Because what they were doing, they didn't want someone to scream up the field and run around them for a big hole. And Kyler Murray made throws when he needed to. He hit Brown on the 4th down. He made throws late in the game. The 2-point conversion, the touchdown, I think it was the 2-point conversion. He threw it right over the top of Teamer to Green at the end of the game. But we'll see. I mean, the Raiders linebackers need to play better. I didn't think they had a very good game either in pass coverage there in the second half. They definitely stopped blitzing. They were blitzing a lot in the first half, and they went away from that once they had the lead. But when it was 23-7 with 12 minutes left and the Raiders had the ball, you thought the game was over, and clearly it wasn't.
As far as blitzing too, the unique thing about blitzing Kyler Murray is he literally turns his back to the entire play when you blitz him. Like, that's the reason. I mean, that's the reason why he gives you opportunities to get a lot of sacks. And I know people are calling now. People are saying that now people are Crosby stands. Now, if you say anything about Crosby, because Crosby misses that play. I believe on that same play, didn't they call Teamer for that? Quickly,
yeah, it wasn't going to count anyway.
It wasn't going to count. It wasn't going to count anyway. So so it doesn't matter.
That hold was questionable too, because I saw
I did it when everybody. I saw that. That was. I'm gonna throw a flag on this play regardless. Like,
and it came out quick. Like, snap, 2 steps, flag was out. The flag was on the field before Kyler Murray was at the top of his drop.
And I think too about it. I mean, like, yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad. But I mean, now people are trying to label Crosby as a guy who gets pressures but can't finish now. He can't finish now.
I heard that.
Wow. Wow,
he got him on the ground twice, and he got an intentional grounding, so that's 3. Like one of them got taken away by a penalty
because Bilal Nichols got the face mask. Like
literally,
and
it wasn't even rushing either. Like he was literally just trying to push the right tackle back, which is what they asked him to do.
Yeah, and literally, he gives Bilal Nichols a sack, and he says, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't want this sack. Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna pay? You get a face mask penalty on that as well. But Amik got a little bit of Hobbs. I thought was Hobbs INT. I didn't. I guess pass. I guess you call hold. I guess whatever. But it went back and forth. I mean, this crew, we talked about it. Like, you gotta look at the crew, and they want to they want to be on TV. So like, so like they're gonna. He called every little thing as soon as Mumford came in the game. Flag,
Yep.
flag. I would love to see. I can't wait to watch it on film to see if these are penalties or not.
The Mumford hold was very questionable. Being at the game, the interesting one was you saw it in the first half. All of the illegal formation penalties. I mean, there must have been 5 or 6, and the second one they called him Mac Hollins. Like you won't see it on the replay, but he literally was demonstrative, yelling at the ref like that's BS. And Mac Hollins supposed to be this like chill.
Very chill, very zen kind of player. Yeah.
He was going after the ref after that play. Like he was livid that they called him for that. I will give the ref credit. The first one they called on him, I did see it today. He definitely was covering the tight end, so that was a penalty. But they called it both ways in the first half, and then kind of in the second half, they didn't really call any of those penalties. It was timing penalties. Like, okay, 4th down stop penalty, holding penalty, and then so I was waiting for him on overtime. They didn't really call any, but yeah, that crew 22 accepted penalties is just unbelievable.
22, you gotta love it.
And then you have Murray running around there and late in the game, and like I don't know if there was any holds or not, but we'll see. But you can't let a guy run 85 yards to go 2 yards to score and have 11 defenders and not get anyone around him. At some point when Vickers came through, I think it was Vickers, and whoever maybe Hankins or Billings, whoever the other defensive tackle was, like they're running around with him. Just stop. Like, don't chase him around. Just stop, make him stand 20 yards back there and throw the ball. Like, allowing him to run around. And I don't know what Chandler Jones is doing on that one, because he was kind of out in the flat, and then you see him run inside within the end zone, and then Murray runs right around him. Like, I don't know where he was going. But
I don't know. It's tough.
He was running right towards my seats too. I saw the whole thing. I'm like, oh, here he comes. Came all the way back to the field and was going to high five me in the stands.
Right. Yeah, right in those spots. Yeah, it was really bad, and I don't know. It's going to be, because they're probably going to be it's probably going to be a battle of 2 0-2 teams. I would think that, I'm not discounting the Titans or variable, but I would think that they would lose tonight to or lose the Monday night game. If they win the Monday night game when this is on, I'll give them credit for it. But it was really, I don't know how else to say about it. I mean, some folks want to kill the quarterback, some folks want to defend them at any point. I think it's a little bit of everybody. The pot is definitely bigger, probably maybe on the offensive side in this game, because I mean, you can't 7 points for 3 quarters. The game, I should be 3.5 quarters. I should be able to just go to the beach and catch a wrap-up show later on. Like, I shouldn't have to even watch the 4th quarter. But it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. Any more thoughts on it? This is only a rapid reaction to what happened, the debacle on Sunday, and I just don't know what's in store for this team. I mean, this is a big. And I would say one thing too is how do you have as many pressures as Max Crosby and like never get a holding penalty? Like, is it
never? I think the Raiders catch a break here. Tennessee is playing a Monday night game, going on the road, and then going home to play a 10 o'clock Sunday game. The Raiders are going to be worn out. I mean, 87 plays or whatever it was on defense. They better bring their big boy pants, because Derrick Henry's coming. And they're going to have to stop that freight train, and they're going to be worn out. So I think you're going to see a lot more rotations. You're going to see a lot of Bauer. You're going to see a lot of Farrell, a lot of these backups in there trying to help stop the run. And Denzel Perryman needs to show up this week. Hopefully he's healthy, because they're not going to stop the run with those other linebackers. They need Perryman for this week. And now adversity's hit the Raiders right in the face. And this is where they need to respond. I'm done with it. It's on me. it's on me bull crap press conferences. You know, Josh McDaniels is now doing it. Like, I know Carr's done it twice. McDaniels did it yesterday. We didn't hire you to say it's on me. We hired you because you're supposed to be this play caller and you had a playoff roster and you got Devontae Adams. I don't need to hear him say we need to learn. It's a learning process anymore. Like, no, you're not coaching a team that went 3-14 last year. You're coaching a playoff team that is an older team in this league that has players that should have aspirations to be better than that this year. So I'm done with that kind of talk. This team needs to just go out and produce now. The talking is done. They need to win. No team, and since they went to 14 teams, no one's gone 0-2 and made the playoffs. So they're already at like a 10% chance here, maybe less than that to make the playoffs. And the only way they're going to do it is to just prove it on Sundays. And they have to win the next 2 games. There's no way around it because they're staring at the Chiefs on Monday night in week 5. They can't walk into that game 1-3. They have to win the next 2. And these are AFC games, and these are going to matter. And they're playing the Titans, who appear to be down this year, who don't have any weapons outside. And then they have the Broncos, who can't even figure out the snap count at home. And their home crowd is chanting down the snap count. So, and that game's at home. But interesting stat, that crowd was buzzing. It was electric in the stadium. It was really loud. And the Raiders can't win. I think they're 7-11 or something like that at home in that stadium. Like, that's crazy. And there was a Marquette King sighting. He was when I was on the field with the flag, I saw Marquette King wearing overalls in the Win Club. So he's still hanging around Vegas doing something. But that they have to figure out how to win in that stadium because the crowd was electric. The fans showed up. The team basically didn't show up after halftime.
Yeah. I don't get it. And I think the thing about it is when you speak about one thing I'll say too is that when you watch what happened around the league, like I'm sure you're getting your game prep going, but you know about all these games where teams came back and won. I mean, Tua 6 touchdown passes. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's nuts. So many teams came back. The Jets, Flacco
threw 4 touchdowns.
Threw 4 touchdowns. And you documented when the last time Derek did that. We've been talking about last time Derek can throw 3 touchdowns in one game.
64 games.
In a passing league.
Jared Goff threw 4 touchdowns this week. So don't tell me it can't be done. Like, Jared Goff can do it. And I've already just blanked. Joe Flacco at age 58 or however old he can do it. Like, Derek Carr should be able to do it once every 5 years. And then the other thing, like you said, in a passing league, it's been 24 games since he's thrown 3 TDs. Like, you're going to find, like, honestly, in this league now, you should throw 3 TDs, like, 3 or 4 times a season. Like, the way everything's set up now. If you're a top 10 to 15 quarterback in the league, and spare me the top 10 MVP talk with Derek Carr until he does it. Like, at some point, you have to throw touchdowns. Like, we're doing this again. Like, throw touchdowns.
Stop. Score. Let's go score.
Gotta score.
You got to score. You got to score. And I'm not sure what the holdup is. Just let you have what is training camp for? Like, what is training camp and practice for? If you can't do it in practice, watch film, all this studying, like all this stuff like that, just let the ball rip. Like, you supposedly practice with this dude. He's your best friend, who I'm sure was. I don't know if that phone call. I'm not sure they even talked yesterday because after that game. But you have this whole situation here where you can't. This is top. This is like there is quarterbacks who dream about having the kind of weapons you have on this team. Like, you know what I mean? Come on. I can't.
I would add one more thing. Another thing I don't want to see on the timeline anymore is, well, the Patriots were always slow out of the box. The first month's for adjustments. We'll see where they are. The Patriots had the greatest quarterback of all time. They had Tom Brady. So in his prime, they could get away with it in a division that wasn't very good. The Raiders are loud. They're 4th in the AFC West, and only because the Broncos look like they can't figure out a snap count. Is there any chance? But they're clearly behind the Chargers and Chiefs. We can honestly say that 2 weeks into the season. They got to figure it out. Spare me with they're going to make adjustments, and they're the Patriots from years ago, and we're going to look up, and they're going to be 9-3 in week 12. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, it's not. I honestly think, and this is like the last thing I'll break down before we go. We'll talk later in the week, but I just felt like you got to win 3 in a row. I mean, if you're going to be a serious playoff contender, you can't keep losing AFC games. You just
If they want to
can't.
win the division, they better be 3-2.
Yeah,
Then they'll be 2-1 in the conference with a
yeah,
win over, or the
exactly.
division with a win over the Chiefs.
Exactly. So like you're gonna, you have to kind of do that. And now, every week a couple guys go down every week. What's his face? It's probably concussed, right?
Renfro.
Renfro. So and if that ball is, and people hate that play, but if the ball is thrown on time, Renfro can make Renfro can do what Renfro does and make a play up the field and get 6 or 7 yards on basically a long handoff. But the ball is, even that play is like pulling hairs. Like, like it's I don't know what, I don't know.
There
It's
was a
Go ahead.
quickly. There was a play. I don't know if it was the play before that where they called timeout. They called a timeout at some point, I think, in overtime. And they were an empty set, 5 wide receivers. Josh Jacobs was the number 2 to the right. No one was covering him. There was not a guy on him, and they called timeout. Either they did it. I think the Raiders did.
The Raiders.
Where if they just hike the ball and throw it to Josh Jacobs, he can run for 10, 15 yards. But they called timeout.
Yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Situational awareness. Situational awareness. All right, Ray Nation. Hopefully better days are to come. I have no idea if they are. But let's be honest. A loss here, then there. I mean, you're looking at this weekend. You're looking at something totally different. So we'll see what happens in Tennessee as they take their first trip. 10 o'clock game this year on Sunday. But hey, listen, USC's 3-0. All right. All right, Ray Nation, peace.
All right. Take care.